people in from the waiting room. It looks like it is 7 o'clock, so I think we will get started. Um, Good evening and welcome to the 2025 Special Town Meeting Warrant Review. I'm Vicki Geary, spokesman for the League of Women Voters of Westford. The League of Women Voters of Westford is a nonpartisan grassroots organization for people of all genders, ages, and backgrounds. Our goals are to encourage active and informed participation in government, increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influence public policy through education and advocacy. We do not support any political candidates. And you can go to our website, lwv.westford.org, to learn more. And that's what's beautiful about what we do here, because part of encouraging and educating is having these sessions like special town meeting, so that we can get a little ahead and get a little informed before town meeting. In addition to general information on our website, we also have on our website some short videos explaining various aspects of town meeting. So some additional information there. It's a great resource, and it can also be found on the town moderator's webpage. Before we get started, I would like to thank all of our panelists for coming, especially after a long, long work day. And I would like to thank WestfordCAT for broadcasting and recording this event. So tonight we have several people from the town who will explain the articles and answer any questions for the 13 articles up for vote on Monday's meeting. And I will introduce them as we get to their because there's a lot of them tonight. So I will introduce them as we get to each article. We are taking questions. There is a Q&A button in Zoom. You should be able to see that. And we will take questions for each article as we go along, and I will do my best to monitor the questions. And in some cases, I know there's a little bit of lag, so we might go back, but if you can try to keep, put your questions in as we go, that would be greatly appreciated. Normally this is the part of this town meeting preview. I would actually transition to Angela Harkness, our moderator, to give some logistics and processes and procedures, but Angela was unable to make it tonight. So I'm going to pinch hit for her the best I can. But if I fall short, Angela is hosting an Ask the Moderator sort of office hours sessions on Tuesday, October 21st at Town Hall, one from 10 to 12 and the other from 4 to 6. So feel free to drop by, say hi to her, and ask her any questions directly if I don't do a good enough job here. But just quickly, we are expecting a good turnout for special town meeting on Monday, October 27th. All rooms will be available. We'll start with the gym, and once that gym is filled up, we'll transition to the PAC. And you need to stay in the room that you are assigned, as your clicker will not work anywhere else. There should be adequate parking, but I would always say carpool if possible. If you need childcare, the deadline to sign up is this coming Monday, October 20th. There is also the option for free transportation. That also needs to be signed up before in advance, and that's the deadline for that is October 22nd. All of this information can be found, and the links to these signups can be found on the town moderators page at westfordma.gov. So, without further ado, let's jump into the business at hand and the warrant for town meeting. So, Article 1 is approve unpaid bills from the previous years, and I'm going to turn it over to our Finance Director, Dan O'Donnell.
I'm going to share my screen as we go through these here. So this is a article that we need to authorize a bill from October of 2024. The town manager's office did dispute an invoice with WeWorld Inc., which is where we dispose of our solid waste. However, we did lose that appeal, but we did not find out about it until after the system was closed for FY25. So we didn't find out until August. So we do have to ask town meeting to authorize to pay this bill. It's a 9/10 vote. But it's important to note that this is not authorizing any new money. This is just so that we can pay this bill out of our existing budget.
Great. Are there any questions from our attendees? Not seeing any. So let's move on to Article 2. And again, I'm going to turn it over to Dan and Kristen Lay, our town manager. This is approved fiscal 2026 supplemental appropriations and transfers.
Yep. So we have some minor adjustments to our FY26 budget. It's totaling 134,000 for 7 different expense accounts for the town side. We did have some unknown cost increases that we do need to fund. We did reduce our budgets during the last year's process. So knowing that we have this option to come back and request more funding if need be. I'll just go through a list, give you a quick breakdown. For select board expenses, this is to pay for the NIMCOG membership. The amount came in almost $1,000 more than we had budgeted. For the town manager expenses, we're requesting 23,000. 5,000 of this is for the facilities master plan expenses. We had originally appropriated ARPA funds for this. However, there are incidental expenses that weren't included in that budget, so we just need this $5,000 to close out those incidentals and close out the project. 12,000 of this is for the Zen City contract, which is a townwide strategic planning tool. It actually allows us to engage the community and get public feedback. And most recently, we used it to try to figure out how many people are actually going to attend special town meetings. So it's a useful tool just to let us know for planning purposes. And lastly, we have printing and postage for town meetings. We're requesting another $6,000 for that. Printing and postage costs have gone through the roof. Basically, we're required to send out a report card not a report card, a postcard prior to special town meeting, annual town meetings, and they run about 3,500 to 4,000 a piece. So we do need this to meet the requirements of the bylaws to hold a town meeting. Next up, we have $5,000 for the treasurer collector expenses. This is basically for some training. We have a full staff of 3.4 people who have all been hired in the past 2 years in that office. So we do need to have some professional development there. Legal services, we've been running a little bit higher than budget the past 2 years, and we are in negotiations with 4 out of our 6 bargaining units right now. So we're anticipating that fees will be a little bit higher this year as we go through that, along with other legal expenses that we have. Technology, this is one that we didn't anticipate during last year's budget process. This is basically for the fire department to be able to comply with the National Emergency Response Information System. It's basically a new software that we have to have in order to communicate with the new state requirements there for the fire department. So this is a one-time installation of $5,000, and then it'll be an annual software subscription of $20 moving forward. Then we have $30,000 going to the wastewater treatment expenses. Let's see. So we did receive an administrative consent order from Mass DEP due to some violations there. So this is basically to come up with a plan to meet the consent order, and then we'll come back with another request to actually put that in place, probably at the annual town meeting. That's for the WA treatment plant. And lastly, for the general fund, we have veteran services expenses of $20,000. We do have a new veteran service officer, Colin Bodie, who's been doing a great job doing reach out with our veterans in town. However, we're getting more people on the benefits, which is a good thing. We do get reimbursed by the state for 75% of all the eligible costs for this. However, we need to have the budget in place in order to pay those upfront costs for our veterans. Then lastly here, we have another $9,600 coming from the Ambulance Enterprise Fund retained earnings. And this is for our preventive maintenance contract for our stretcher, our stair chairs, and our Lucas devices, which expired last year when that equipment fell out of warranty.
Great, thank you. We do have a couple of questions with regard to Article 2 from Emily Teller. Where do these funds come from specifically?
So these are coming from basically the operating budget. We're raising and appropriating these funds. And so it's basically from tax dollars, state aid, local revenue that's funding this.
And like I'm trying to understand this. Who created the disbursements of these for these departments of these departments?
Who created the list?
Yeah,
Um, well, Krista and I work with our department heads, and we knew we had some shortfalls coming up. So these requests come in um, over time as we're preparing for special town meeting. They're requests from department heads.
there. So the department heads to clarify this a little bit. Department heads aren't necessarily inquired whether or not they need this, but they actually step up and take the initiative to um, request these funds. Correct?
That's correct. We have discussions. If we have a funding shortfall in a budget, then they do talk to Krista and I about seeking funding for an issue.
Okay. Great. Well, if there are no more questions regarding Article 2, and again, I can always come back, we'll move on to Article 3, which is approve a capital appropriations. We have several town officials speaking here, but I would like to take the opportunity to welcome our new IT director. Nathan, I'm sorry, Nathan, I'm gonna forget how to pronounce your last name. Uh,
Gilmet.
Gilmet. So Nathan here is under baptism by fire. He's been on the job 3 days and he's already been to a select board meeting, and now this is his first town meeting preview.
Yes.
But so I'm going to turn it over to not only Nathan, but Dan, Kristen, Kyle Fox, uh, Paul, Mike, to run through the various appropriations that are being requested for approval.
Great. This is Kristen Last, the town manager. Just wanted to say hello to everyone. Thank you for coming this evening. And I'll turn it over to Dan O'Donnell just to give a brief overview of why we're asking for these capital items and the total amount. You will see that there's several motions within this specific article, and then we'll turn it over to the individual department heads to give a brief synopsis of each of the asks.
Okay, so starting out, the first motion here is requesting $376,300 in free cash to supplement three capital requests. The first is for technology. This is basically firewall upgrades for the town schools. This is supplementing a $73,000 grant that we have in place that we need this additional funding to complete this project. So these are basically matching funds for that grant. And it's time sensitive because the funds need to be spent by the end of the calendar year. Then next up, we have two requests from DPW, and it's basically for two pieces of equipment to clear sidewalks with the winter coming up. So first, we have a $300,000 sidewalk tractor that could be used to continue our pilot program, which is clearing snow from the center of town, Main Street, and Plain Road and Oak Hill Road. The second is a $40,000 used compact trailer that we would be purchasing from it was Scott's Trees equipment that they used last year, and they were our contractor that cleared the snow last year. The reason we're asking for this is because Scott Street indicated that they are no longer interested in bidding for these services, and the last time we bid for these, they were the only bidder. So if we want to continue plowing the sidewalks, we do need equipment to do so. All right. Then we have an and further. This is actually a request for me. This is funding for an ambulance. It's not new funding. It's to replace the bond authorization we requested at the 2024 annual town meeting. At that time, we didn't have enough in retained earnings just to outright purchase an ambulance. At this point, we do. So we want to switch to funding and not have to go through with borrowing for that project, for that ambulance. The reason we decided to borrow at that time was because there's such a delay in ordering equipment. We ordered this ambulance back in 2024, and we're not expected to receive it until January 2027. So this was always our plan to come back and use retained earnings to fund this ambulance. And then we're asking $450,000 from the Stormwater Enterprise for the design and construction for the Colonial Drive bridge repair. It's actually two culverts that are failing at this point. So MassDOT has been out and inspected them, and we want to fix those before winter because Colonial Drive doesn't have alternate access out from that road. So before this becomes a bigger issue, we just want to fix the problem now before we're given more requirements from MassDOT. All right, then we have 3 bond issues coming up. The first bond under the second motion is for the Nutting Road Community Fields. This is the request that came before annual town meeting last year. We did recently bid these, and we received the results last Thursday. And we have some great news that the bids came in very favorable. We're now requesting $1,150,000 as compared to 2.1 million that was being used as a placeholder. Then the third and fourth motions are for a pair of fire trucks. The first one for $1 million is so that the fire department can purchase one that's pre-made. Right now, to build a truck, it takes about 1,500 days. So with the fourth motion, we're hoping to put the order in, knowing that we won't receive this truck for possibly 4 years before we actually see it. So the debt payment is even occurring in our 4-year financial model at this point. So it's really just to get the order in and possibly save some money by ordering now instead of at the annual town meeting. So we do have our department heads here if there's any specific questions for those.
Help us understand how there is such a this is a question from Diane. Help us understand how there is such a big swing in the original Nutting Fields cost at 2.1 million to now like $1 million, which is a great savings, but why the big difference? What has changed?
Kyle, could you take that question, please?
Yeah, I sure can. Good evening, everybody. Kyle Fox, Public Works Director. So when we came to annual town meeting this past March, we had received 2 kind of budgetary proposals from consultants who would have helped us prepare the bid specs and documents and perform construction inspection. And they both came in around the same 2-ish million for the project. So that was their budgetary estimate for us. In the ensuing months since the town meeting, we had a number of discussions with the Park and Rec Commission and the public, and it was decided to go forward with the project for a special town meeting. In that decision-making process, we decided that it would be better if we bid the project before special town meeting, so we would have an actual number to present to the voters of Westford. And so we created the bid spec, advertised it in September, opened up bids on October 9th, and we had 6 bidders ranging from just over $1 million to just over 1.3 million. So part of the savings is that the bid spec and construction inspection is going to be done by in-house public works staff. So that was probably about 100,000 of savings. And the rest was a favorable bidding climate and a number of bidders interested in our project to get the really favorable results.
Okay. Thank you. A related question to the fields from Susan Thompson. Has the town considered an overall field management plan to accommodate all grass field usage? We do have fields that some are grass, some are turf. Is there an overall management plan to either get them, in line or deal with the ones that are grass management versus turf?
So I can try and answer that. And Sue, please let me know if I'm going up the wrong tree with the response. So we do manage all of our town athletic fields and parks and grounds areas. If the question is, did we look at whether to turn nutting into grass? The answer was certainly we did. We had a very well attended Parks and Rec Commission meeting on May 5th where analysis was presented, comparing the two options, pros and cons of both. And it was really at that meeting where the public overwhelmingly recommended to the Park and Rec Commission that they keep nutting fields as turf. And one of the big reasons was because of space use of the field. One of the really great aspects of turf fields is that you can use them over and over and over again and get many more hours of support for the athletes than you can on a grass field. And studies have shown that to convert it to grass, you would need for the equivalent athletic use, you would need 2 to 3 times the current space. And of course, we don't have land or money for those ventures. So I think that's one of the primary reasons the commission and the public wanted us to pursue the turf field option.
And does the bid of $1 million or, therein of include disposal of the existing field?
Yeah, great question. It certainly does. And one of the, we did hear a lot of environmental concerns leading up into this project. And so the bid spec was very protective of a lot of things. The contractor has to certify that all of the products are PFAS free, metals free, PAH free, no toxins. And one of the big ones was we demanded that the bidder recycle the entire turf field rather than landfill it. So landfilling of our existing nutting turf is not allowed by the bid spec.
And continuing on related to the grass turfs, I guess the clarification from Susan who asked the question is if we used all of our grass fields and converted turf to grass, how would that impact usage? And, she brings up a point that if Boston can use only grass fields, why can't Westford?
So I can only speak to Westford. I can't speak to Boston, of course. The nutting fields, traditionally we open them at least a month before grass fields in the spring, and they're viable much longer in the fall. And so there would definitely be an impact on the programs should it be converted to to grass. Additionally, the wear and tear that converting it to grass would occur would certainly make it a less pleasing surface for athletes to play on. Certainly anyone who's been at our Jack Walsh field knows it's a really good space for athletics, but it does get pretty beat up and is prone to droughts and other issues. And we certainly don't have the resources to maintain it like a pro soccer field or a lacrosse field. And without having those kind of resources, converting it to grass would really affect the ability of our programs to have a good quality surface that they can play on.
Okay, and how will we be able to verify that the turf field, the one that was removed, has been recycled? Is there a verification that will be?
There is. Okay. Yeah, and in fact, we required the bidders to indicate where their recycling facility was in the bid documents. So we have that, and we will follow up to make sure that happens.
Okay. And then a non-related to the turf field, one of our attendees missed the street names that have the snow removal related to, I guess, what you had asked for earlier. And they missed the street names that you had referenced. So if somebody could.
Sure, I can take that one too, Vicky. So the pilot program, which began back in 2015-16 winter, and has grown a little bit since then. The current pilot program included 3.8 miles of sidewalks, primarily on Plain Road, Oak Hill Road, and kind of the town center. So from on Boston Road, from Crown Road up to Main Street, and then the Main Street area down to the Abbott School.
All right, thank you.
And should we get the trackless tractor, we would anticipate doing much more than just those limited sidewalks.
And another question is, would CPA funds potentially be used for the fields if we had elected to go with grass?
Yes, a grass field project would be eligible for CPA funds. A turf field project is not eligible.
And last is, I think it's more of a comment, but I do want to share it, is I guess not having lived in the world myself, but I guess we do rent out those fields. I think a lot of people in town who don't or are not in that world don't realize that. So every time that the fields are down, it's lost revenue. But that said, it feels like that the fees have not been upgraded in a while. Are there any plans to adjust the fees for inflation?
Yeah, so the Parks and Rec Commission has been discussing fees on all of our various properties at many of their meetings over the past year, and they're continuing those discussions. And working with our public works staff, we're going to develop a more comprehensive plan of what all of our facilities contain and a condition rating, and try and take a more analytical approach to what the fees should be rather than the traditional approach of just setting what felt comfortable at the time.
Okay. Before one last call for questions before we move on from Article 3 to Article 4. Thank you all for your questions. I think it's very helpful for all the voters and viewers to see those questions and hear the responses. Seeing none, not to say we can't come back, but let's move on to Article 4, which is amending a zoning bylaw with regard to accessory dwelling units. And Jeff Morissette, our assistant town manager, will take that, I believe.
Thank you, Vicky. So Article 4 proposes to amend the zoning bylaw relative to accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, to bring the town into consistency with changes made to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 3, by the Affordable Homes Act in August of 2024. So this act created the category of protected use accessory dwelling units, where ADUs that meet certain standards are allowed as of right in our Residence A and Residence B zoning districts. So as of right means that the town lacks discretion to deny those ADUs, provided that they can meet the normal permitting requirements such as setbacks, wetlands, septic systems, and building permit requirements. So to qualify as a protected use ADU, the ADU must not be larger than half the gross floor area of the principal dwelling, or 900 square feet, whichever is smaller. So this zoning amendment, it would acknowledge the protected use ADUs and clarify that special permits would be required for other ADUs, which would now be known as local ADUs, that don't qualify as protected use. It would continue to designate the Zoning Board of Appeals as the Special Permit Granting Authority, or SPGA, for the local ADUs. And unlike the as-of-right development, the SPGA has discretion to deny special permits for local ADUs. Under state law, the town cannot require more than one parking space for a protected use ADU. However, under this proposal, the town can require at least one parking space for a local accessory dwelling unit. Our current zoning bylaw allows for ADUs that are up to 900 square feet. This proposal, however, would change that to allow local ADUs to be as large as 1,250 square feet. So this zoning initiative, it was made possible with technical assistance from NIMCOG, our regional planning agency. And I'll say that the planning board, the select board, and the zoning board of appeals all voted unanimously 5-0-0 to recommend this article to special town meeting. And I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you folks might have.
So far, I'm not seeing any questions, Jeff, but if any come up, we can always come back to that. So I'm going to move on to Article 5. our town planner, Joe Jenowitz. It'll take that. That's another zoning bylaw amendment. Joe, if you would
Sure.
like to,
Thank you. So under Article 5, this amendment would allow potential applicants to seek special permit relief for several uses the Land Use Management Department has received inquiries about over the last several years, where current requirements may otherwise prohibit these uses within certain zoning districts and towns. Essentially, this is looking to offer the opportunity to add some maybes, but right now the bylaw says no for uses identified in the warrant article. By requiring the grant of a special permit, as opposed to allowing the uses as of right, each application will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, where the special permit granting authority, whether that's the planning board or the zoning board of appeals, can have discretion to approve or deny an application. So by adopting these changes, it provides additional opportunities for property owners to consider for redevelopment of their property and allow for more opportunities for economic development through, one, reducing the odds of missed opportunities for businesses to come to Westford that previously passed because the table of uses now says no. And so it'll enable more small to mid-sized businesses to have the ability to move into town, thereby improving the commercial tax base as properties turn over, as long as the special permit granting authority can determine the criteria for granting a special permit can be satisfied. This article was supported by the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Board, the Select Board, and the Economic Development Committee, all recommended to support this article. So we're hoping you do too. Thank you.
thank you, Joe. We do have two questions. The first is, why do we need more ADUs if the state already allows them by right?
Oh, so first of all, I will say our planning board and zoning board did debate that. We did have the option of simply going by state law and only allowing protected use ADUs, but they thought that would be a disservice to the residents of Westford. Because if someone had, say, a modest sized dwelling, they might not be able to have a meaningful sized accessory dwelling unit. So there are some homes that are, say, 1,200 square feet or less. They wouldn't be able to have a very large or functional accessory dwelling unit. And so they thought the town should have the option to grant accessory dwelling units on a case-by-case basis if they thought it made sense for that neighborhood and that property owner.
Okay. Another question from Christina Green is, she's confused. I have to admit, I'm a little confused too, as to when an ADU's, why the ADU's maximum size is 900 versus 1,200 square feet. Like, can you clarify that a little bit? Well, I think we're a little confused about the differences
Sure.
by law.
So currently, our zoning bylaw allows for 900 square foot accessory dwelling units. The proposal is to upgrade that to 1,250 square feet. That was based on a couple of factors. One is we have had some existing detached structures such as carriage houses and such, and we've noted that some of those applications, they came in over 1,000 square feet. And so to allow those in the past, they would have needed additional variance relief on top of the special permit relief to make that happen. We've also noticed some trends that to have accessory dwelling units be a little bit larger to allow for accessibility. Some of the square footage has increased by a couple hundred square feet in places. The other reason I would say is NIMCOG did a kind of a review of some of our neighboring communities in our region. There are a couple of communities that have slightly larger ADUs than the 900 square feet. I will also say, based on some of our survey results and focus groups, when we're doing research for housing, it ties in neatly with some of the survey results of what folks in town said that they were looking for if they were looking to downsize or have those other options for smaller units. The 900 square feet, that is one of the standards that is set out in the state law for protected use ADUs. And so if we didn't have a local option, there couldn't be any accessory dwelling unit greater than 900 square feet. And then again, we come across the 50% threshold for the accessory dwelling unit for the primary dwelling unit. So again, modest sized homes might not be able to have a reasonable size accessory dwelling unit. So after weighing all that in, the planning board thought it made more sense to preserve that option for local accessory dwelling units.
And a follow-up to Article 4. Is the local zoning ADU bylaw, quote, as of right, end quote, or do they require a permit?
So the local ADU, it requires a special permit, and that is the permit that the board is not obligated to grant. They can say no. They can also impose special conditions of approval.
Okay. All right. I'm pause for a minute for if there are any additional questions on Article 4 or 5 before I move on to Article 6. And we got one. What from Chris Kuntz, what is a personal service establishment? Is a body art establishment, a tattoo parlor considered a personal service establishment?
So personal service establishment would be something more like your nail salon, hair salon, barber shop, something in that category. Body art establishments are regulated under a different use category under the zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Learn something new every day. I'm going to move on to Article 6, which is amend the zoning map to modify the town's MBTA community's multifamily overlay district. For that presentation tonight, we have with us Israel Lopez from the Gutierrez Company. As this is impacting the parcel impacted is part of Tech Park East or Technology Park Drive. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and Israel for a brief presentation on that. Israel, you need to
Israel was gonna give an overview, and if
Yeah.
there are technical questions, I could be here if needed.
Yeah. Israel, you're on mute.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you, Vicky. Jeff, I didn't know if you wanted to introduce the article. I'm happy to do so, or happy to let you do so, and then share a little bit more information in my presentation.
Sure, I'll give a quick overview. Thank you. So in a nutshell, this proposal would, for Technology Park East, that area, it would remove 2 parcels that are already in the multi-family overlay district, and it would add 1 parcel to the multi-family overlay district. So there'd be a small net decrease of about 1.66 acres to the overlay district. And this would allow for a specific proposal that the Gutierrez Company is trying to move forward with. They originally had conversations with the planning board. The planning board listened to their proposal, and they thought it was a good proposal and good for the town. So they ultimately decided to sponsor this zoning bylaw amendment. So we have done some of the technical information, working with NIMCOG. They have done the calculations to confirm that we would remain in compliance with the MBTA requirements should this proposal be approved and move forward. So I don't know, Israel, if you want to talk about your specific proposal.
Sure. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Vicky, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to share a little bit more information about our proposal and sort of the impetus behind our desire to remove 2 of the parcels within the existing MBTA overlay district and replace it with another parcel. I just wanted to, I have a presentation that I can share very quickly, and I just have a few slides that provide a little bit more background on the proposal. And can you see my screen? It says Westford Technology Park. Okay, great. So we just wanted to provide a little bit of background, and context for the proposal. I think many people are familiar with Westford Technology Park East along Littleton Road. Our company began developing the park in the early 80s, and development continued through 2007 or so. It consists today of about 1 million square feet of R&D and office space. It's got a restaurant and retail component that is on the other side of Nixon Road. And so the graphic here just shows the land that was originally part of the project, kind of the master plan development that we permitted and entitled beginning back in the 1980s. This slide really just shows some of the key tenants that the park has been home to over the years. We're very proud of the companies that have been part of Tech Park East, and really everything that we do, including our desire to sort of make this change within the MBTA overlay map as it relates to our park. Everything really is all about wanting to make sure that the park continues to be a great place and vibrant for these kinds of companies over the long run. So, you know, first and foremost, that's really the most critical thing for us as we look at any redevelopment opportunities within the park, is how do we make sure that the park continues to be a great place for corporate tenants. And so, as Jeff mentioned, the proposal is to modify the current parcels that are included within the MBTA overlay district. And currently there are 3 parcels all on the east side of Tech Park Drive, and they consist of Tech Parks 2, Tech Park 4, and Tech Park 6. That's what's included within that gray shaded area. The thinking here, originally, we didn't have concrete plans originally when the MBTA overlay district was first implemented. We had some ideas, and one of them was around maybe introducing a restaurant along Littleton Road in what's currently Tech Park 2. The zoning at the time did not allow for that, and so that was sort of the thinking behind it, wanting to include that particular parcel. But over time, as leasing activity and different things evolved within the park, we really shifted focus towards Tech Park 5 as a potential redevelopment opportunity. And so we approached the town about revising the overlay map to bring in Tech Park 5. And it's sometimes said that developers always ask for a lot more than they need or want. And we did not take that approach. We thought, you know, let's remove 2 of the lots that are currently included within the overlay district, and just really limit it to the 2 lots that are shown on the screen, being Tech Park 5 and Tech Park 4. This graphic you may have seen in some of the literature that's been circulated, but it just shows on the left panel, the lots that are currently included within the overlay district. As Jeff mentioned, it's almost 24 acres currently included today, and the modification to the overlay district would reduce that by about 1.66 acres to 22.23 acres. As Jeff mentioned, the NIMCOG did look at this to make sure that what we were proposing would continue to allow the town to stay in conformance with the MBTA Communities Act, and it does. And so we just wanted to make sure that was going to continue to be the case. And then getting to sort of what the proposed redevelopment conceptually would be, because we know that that's certainly kind of the first natural question that comes to people's minds. Currently, Tech Park 5, this is a graphic that shows the Tech Park 5 lot. The blue shaded footprint is the existing office and R&D building that is there today. It's 160,000 square feet. It's served by 2 parking lots that are shown in this graphic in gray. What we would propose to do, and this is very conceptual, this would need to go, should the bylaw amendment pass, we would need to go before the planning board and any other local boards in order to obtain approval for anything that we do. But just as a very high level conceptual idea, we would look to replace that existing office building with 2 40-story buildings that we would intend to be condos. They would appeal and be targeted to 55 and over, the 55 and over community. And this layout would also allow for a restaurant or brew pub to be incorporated all within sort of the area that is currently developed as what is now Tech Park 5. I could go on and answer any questions, but essentially that's what we are proposing to do, is just simply replace one lot and eliminate 2 lots in order to allow for the potential redevelopment that is shown here. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I just want to clarify because I think you misspoke. You said 40-story. I think you meant 40 unit.
4-story.
Because that would be really, really big.
Thank you. No, 4 stories.
And also it does look like, I just want to also clarify, you know, because you've talked about the buildings, but it looks to me from this site map that some of what was previously a parking lot is going to be reclaimed back into green space. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's going to be a really great opportunity, just given the smaller, these buildings will have smaller footprints, certainly will not need all of the surface parking that's currently there today. And so there's what this tries to map out is just the opportunity to reclaim some of what is currently paved over and underutilized parking for green space.
Okay, great. Thank you. I don't see any questions. Like I said, if we get some, we can always come back. Oh, wait, got one.
Vicky, could I just, I'm sorry, I neglected to mention that the Planning Board, Select Board, and Zoning Board of Appeals voted 5-0-0 to recommend this article, and the Economic Development Committee recommended 9-0 to support this article at town meeting.
Okay, thank you. So there's one question from Emily Teller. Might there be any consideration for an assisted living / CCRC development?
I am not, part of that I have to defer to Jeff. I'm not sure if that use is allowed within this district. And so I'm not sure if that's something that would be allowed. It is not something that we've contemplated at this point.
Okay, seeing no other questions at the moment. Oh, wait, every time I say that, then I get a question. What will make these units age targeted?
So first, let me, sorry, I'd like to try and stop sharing if I can find the Zoom. Here we go. Sorry. I'm sorry again. I'm just trying to
Stop share.
stop share. There we go. Stop. No. Okay. I believe I'm not sharing anymore. Okay.
Well, you actually are.
Oh, I am. All right. Oh, here it is. There it is. I've got 3 screens and I couldn't
There
find
you go.
the right
Now
one.
you're not. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
again, the
So-
question was, what would make these units age targeted?
Really, it's the building program itself and the layout of the units. What we would contemplate is buildings that are 4 stories served by an elevator on each floor with parking below grade. And so every unit would have a dedicated parking stall for that. And really, it's the fact that there aren't some of the other types of amenities that are attractive for families, for example, playgrounds and things like that, those kinds of amenities that you might find at a multifamily property that would be appealing to families would not be included as part of this. So it's really the size of the units, which we would design at about 2 bedrooms per unit. And also the layout and the size, which would be a little bit larger than rental units and geared towards empty nesters that need a little bit more living space, but don't need all of the other sort of more family-oriented amenities, if you will.
Okay. So another question on this article for Jeff. So could you speak to the zoning allowance for this project, assisted living, etc., and the comment that, you know, we're very happy to see that the green space is being increased. So props to that.
So I believe in this district, commercial highway and or industrial highway, I believe that an assisted living facility is potentially allowable with benefit of a special permit from the planning board. So if it isn't captured by the MBTA communities bylaw, that use in assisted living facility is potentially allowable with special permit from the planning board. We would confirm that with the building commissioner, of course, but that's our off-the-cuff guess.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, another question may pop up, but in the meantime, I am gonna move on to Article 7, which is amend section 9.4 of the zoning bylaw to create a tiered site plan review process. And for that, I'm going to turn that over to Joe.
Thank you again. So for several years, the Land Use Management Department has worked with the Economic Development Committee to look for opportunities to streamline the permitting process, particularly for commercial and industrial development and redevelopment, and do so in a way that ensures any change balances the ways individual proposals may proceed through permitting expeditiously while still receiving appropriate review to ensure compliance with state and local regulations. The amendments proposed under Article 7 will assist with this objective by creating 3 tiers for the town site plan review process, as opposed to the single review process that exists today. Creating this 3-tiered system, town will be well positioned to promote small business opportunities and have a competitive advantage over other communities that still require a public hearing process for projects of all sizes. Currently, projects of all sizes are required to proceed through this public hearing process, which typically takes multiple months and thousands of dollars, which can be a deterrent to some applicants, particularly small businesses, looking to establish themselves in town. However, the proposed system would allow small projects to proceed forward without enduring the time and cost of a public hearing, but would still be subject to other requirements, such as stormwater or Title V requirements. Changes would not only reduce the time and expense to permit these smaller, less complex projects, but it would also provide greater efficiency and time savings for the applicants, planning board, and for town staff. So for these reasons, it was recommended for support by the Zoning Board of Appeals, the Planning Board, the Select Board, and the Economic Development Committee. Hoping you will too. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question, but I'm a question to come in, but I'm not sure I understand it. Is when will we see the text for the bylaw change? I'm not exact, since we've been talking about multiple bylaws, I'm not exactly sure which article the attendee is referring to. So I'm assuming maybe it's Article 7, since that's when it came up, but the question is, if it is for Article 7, when will they be able to see the text for the bylaw change?
We can look to get that up on the website as soon as possible. The most recent language was up in the planning board's packet from October 6th. So we can look to have it separately on the town meeting page, very quickly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and I was correct on that, so.
I believe some of the information is available in the town meeting section of the website.
Okay, moving on to Article 8, which is amendment to the personnel section of the general bylaw. And I'm going to turn that over to Kristen as our town manager to address that.
Thank you, Vicki. Again, Kristen Last, town manager, presenting Article 8 this evening that has to deal with a request to amend the general bylaw within the personnel bylaw section. And so as a little bit of context, the town of Westford, under the town charter, authorizes the town manager to establish and amend the compensation plan for employees, which would name the titles of the positions and the grades that the positions are in. However, the general bylaw, section 38, the personnel bylaw, requires town meeting ratification for the classification and reclassification of positions. Throughout my course of time here as town manager, I have not created any new position titles or reclassified any positions, certainly as our budgets are certainly very tight. However, I may have in the past if we had a retirement and wanted to consolidate two positions into one or restructure a department. I reviewed this question with the Personnel Advisory Committee as they oversee our personnel bylaw and personnel in general. We go to them for guidance in this area. And what this is seeking in this bylaw amendment is to take out the authorization from town meeting to provide authorization of classifying a new position or reclassifying a position and allowing that to be reviewed and approved by the personnel committee. There's several reasons for that. As you are aware, town meeting meets either once or twice per year. We may have needs that come up to classify or reclassify a position in a month's notice based upon the conditions that we're dealing with. Also, having this currently as written in the town bylaws is quite archaic. Most other municipalities do allow the town manager with the authorization of the Personnel Advisory Committee or other method to classify or reclassify positions. We do recognize that town meeting is the authority that recognizes and approves the budget. So we could not proceed with a position if we don't have that budgeted within the annual budget that the town meeting does authorize. So again, we are looking to make some changes to this section of the personnel bylaw to classify new positions and reclassify positions after review and approval by the personnel committee through the town manager. And then we're looking to clean up this section of the general bylaw as well, as it currently refers to the Board of Selectmen as, it currently refers to the Board of Selectmen. We'd like to change that to Select Board. And it also states that policies should be effective on the 30th day following the day of which the notice is proposed in the policy filed with that Select Board. We'd like to shorten that to 10 days. We feel that that's adequate for the Select Board's review. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions that may come in. Vicki, you're on mute if you're trying to.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions yet. Again, we can always come back, but seeing there are no questions, let's move on to Article 9, which is authorization for Select Board to approve license conversion. And wait a minute. Here we go. Come back to your article, Article 8. Just a point of clarification. It was an understanding of Emily's that all the non-inclusive language had been previously changed in our bylaws. Can you clarify that, please, Kristen?
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Yeah, I think there was an exercise a few years ago, and Emily, please jump in on the Q&A if I'm getting this wrong, that a lot of the bylaws that we had in place several years ago went through where all the language was changed to be, all the non-inclusive language was changed to be inclusive. And I guess that's the question is, it seems like some of the language here is having to do that.
So I see her question again.
Okay.
It says, is the new paragraph Selectmen Select Board in the written bylaw that we have as a copy, true attest with the town clerk, it refers to Board of Selectmen, and we wanted to make sure that's changed to Select Board. Perhaps it's a typographical error that was changed at town meeting and just not caught and uploaded in the bylaw. So Emily, I will work with Lori Shaw to see if we can do some research on that. Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay. All right. So now we will move on to Article 9 about the license conversion. And I believe Kristen and Lori Shaw, our town clerk, will be addressing that article.
Sure, I can take that from the start, and then Lori will be here to supplement with anything that I cannot answer. So on June 30th of 2025, the governor signed a bill that authorizes a new law that would allow for restaurants that currently have a beer and wine license to elevate that license to an all alcohol license. A, if town meeting approves the general law, and B, if it's approved by the local licensing authority, which is the select board. So the select board has asked to bring this article to town meeting. Currently, the town of Westford has 5 available beer and wine licenses. We currently have 3 restaurants that hold the licenses and 2 licenses that are not held by a restaurant. So if the town meeting authorizes this increase, it would allow for those 3 restaurants to petition to the select board to increase their beer and wine licenses to all alcohol licenses. We see this as a benefit for those restaurants to be competitive within the town of Westford, to increase economic development and vitality for those businesses.
Are there any questions with regard to Article 9? Okay. All right, moving Article 10, authorize wastewater contracted services contract for up to 10 years. And for this, we will go to Dan O'Donnell.
Great. Okay, so this is typically contracts are only allowed to be 3 years in length unless otherwise approved by town meeting. This was an exception though because it's for wastewater services. It does not have to go to town meeting. However, we thought it was good to let the town know that this was our plan to do so. The Finance Committee had requested that we review potential contracts, and if we could enter into agreements for longer periods of time, that would be beneficial to do so. So basically, this is just allowing us to enter into a longer contract for those wastewater services.
Excellent. Are there any questions with regard to Article 10? Okay, seeing none, like I said, we can always come back. Moving on to Article 11, again to Dan, with authorize the lease of municipal property for solar. I'm gonna mess this up. Solar photovoltaic installation.
It's basically solar panels, so I won't dare say it on town meeting floor either. So basically, with the big beautiful bill that's out there, incentives for purchasing solar panels end at the end of the calendar year, so December 31st. However, entering into a lease agreement, we still have time to do so. However, we do want to give the select board the opportunity to be able to take advantage of some of those incentives by authorizing them to enter into a PPA agreement with the company in order to put solar panels on the Blanchard roof is the intent, but the article gives them some leeway in case there's other solutions out there. So there's no money being appropriated for this article. It's just giving them the authority to enter into that agreement.
Okay. Are there any questions on Article 11? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to Article 12, which is the accepting of the Dontano Drive as a public. Oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna hold on that one because we do have a couple of questions on Article 11. Town management, the Clean Energy Committee, and others in town have discussed the benefits of owning versus leasing solar installations. We understand that the town has asked a consultant to do a financial analysis on the subject of own versus buy. What is the status of this analysis? And is this motion intended as a backup in case owning isn't as attractive as we thought it would be?
I can take that question. Thank you, Beth. Unfortunately, Mike Edwards is not able to be on the call this evening, and I do not believe Jeff Goodwin is on the call. They are currently still in conversations with that consultant regarding the lease versus purchase option. So I cannot give a definitive answer this evening, but we will get that for town meeting. This is really a fail-safe that if something is does go awry, it gives the select board that authority to enter into that power purchase agreement without having to come back to town meeting.
And is this installation it would be involving leasing equipment versus, but not the land? You're because we've got the land if we're saying this is for Blanchard Roof or some other area. It's just purely the equipment leasing, correct?
A power purchase agreement could involve the leasing of the property and the panels as well. We don't have a project right now, so there is no other details that I can share.
Okay, and I believe Susan's question has also been asked via the first question you answered, the analysis of ownership versus a PPA. Let's see. So bear with me. Just making sure there are no other additional questions. No. Now we will move on to the accepting of a public way. Joe, do you want to take that?
Sure. So hopefully this one is relatively straightforward. This was a right-of-way that was approved by the planning board as part of a 7-lot subdivision project off of Groton Road in 2023. All conditions of approval required by the planning board for this project have been completed. The right-of-way has been inspected and approved by the Department of Public Works. So both the planning board and the select board have recommended approval of this article.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the last article of the evening, which is a citizen's petition to authorize the select board to petition the general court for one additional all alcohol off premises license to for Main Street Convenience, which is located on 103 Main Street in Westford. And we have Arjun Patel to speak and answer any questions on with regard to that article.
Thank you, Vicky. So my name is Arjun Patel, and my family owns Main Street Convenience, and we've operated for the past 7 years. We currently have a malt and wine license, and we're looking to expand that to include all alcoholic beverages. This petition would allow the town to request an additional all alcohol off-premise license from the state. This license would still remain fully under the town's control, and if approved, would allow us to offer a fuller selection of alcoholic beverages, beer, wine, and spirits. This license would allow us to better serve our customers while continuing under the same state rules and town regulations. With an all alcoholic license, it will simply allow us to offer the wider selection that we can't currently provide. Aside from hard liquor, this also includes seltzers like High Noon and Sun Cruiser Surfsides that we currently can't sell, but we can sell White Claws and Trulies. We will continue to be a convenience store, and most importantly, will remain a family neighborhood, a friendly neighborhood spot where families feel comfortable and kids can still come after school to hang out, meet up, grab a snack or soda. The community connection is vital for us, and that's something that we don't plan on changing, even if we get the all alcoholic license. Some may ask, why do we need an additional license in the town? I would say that the customers expect to be able to buy their beverages all at once location instead of going from store to store, depending on the different beverage that they want. And currently with the state's licensing structure, it does not allow us to sell seltzers that have that have spirits in them. It's about pretty much giving us additional flexibility to be able to support our customers and so forth. Thank you for having me speak tonight.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the attendees on this last article of the evening?
Vicky, I just want to make a clarification
Sure.
as if people do have questions. This is to authorize the town, if passed at town meeting, to petition to the legislature for this special license. If approved by the legislature, the business would still need to go to the select board for proper licensing. So this is one of many steps moving forward. And I just want to make sure that the members of the public know that.
Thank you. I think that's great clarification. And I don't see any questions. So with that, I could probably say this is a wrap. I would like to thank everyone who, all the panelists who attended tonight. Even if you didn't get a chance to speak, it's great that you're here to be on deck in case there are any questions. So it was very much appreciated. Again, thank you to the WestfordCAT for recording this tonight. If you know of any to the attendees and anybody, if you know of anybody who could not attend tonight, this is going to be on YouTube, and we will post the link on our website, the LWV website, so that people can take a look at it if you didn't get a chance to attend tonight. So again, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you guys at town meeting on Monday, October 27th at 7 p.m. at Westford Academy. Thank you all and have a good night.